What if I told you that the ending of Star Wars might actually reveal how Stranger Things will end, and even predict how Vecna will die? You might be wondering why we're even comparing these two universes. Well, it's not random. The Duffer Brothers themselves have said that Vecna shares key DNA with Darth Vader. Not just the vibe, but the actual character arc structure. Even Joe Keery mentioned that Stranger Things pulls heavily from the same 80s sci-fi that shaped Star Wars, which makes the parallels impossible to ignore. Both characters start as gifted children who are pushed toward darkness long before they understand what's happening to them. Henry Creel and Anakin Skywalker don't wake up villains. They're shaped, twisted, and manipulated by something far larger. In Anakin's case, it's Palpatine. In Henry's case, it's the Mind Flayer and the darkness inside Dimension X, and they both fear the place where they were transformed. Vader avoids Mustafar, the planet where Anakin Skywalker died. Vecna avoids the cave in Nevada, the exact spot where Henry Creel first crossed into Dimension X and lost the last of his humanity. The trauma is the same. The place they became monsters is the place they can't return to. Once you see the pattern, the connection isn't a stretch at all. It's a blueprint. And if the Duffers really are drawing from Vader's story, then Vecna's ending might already be written. Darth Vader isn't just the galaxy's big bad. He's a broken man wearing armor. The terrifying version of him that everyone knows was born on a lava planet called Mustafar, the exact place where Anakin Skywalker lost everything: his body, his future, and the people he loved. And even after becoming Vader, he avoids that planet because it's the place where his humanity burned away. For years, Vader is controlled by his master, Emperor Palpatine, the true puppeteer. He does the Emperor's bidding, believing he's too far gone to ever come back. But here's the part a lot of people forget. Underneath the armor, the human side of him is still alive. Quiet, buried, but alive. And that weakness, his past self, is the thing Palpatine never manages to fully kill. In the end, Vader doesn't die because a hero defeats him. He dies because his humanity finally breaks through. He chooses to protect his son, and that one moment of compassion snaps the Emperor's control over him. It's not vengeance that destroys Vader, it's love. A single emotional choice that reveals the person he used to be. When you put Vader's story next to Vecna's, the parallels stop being coincidences, they start looking like a blueprint. Vader has Mustafar, the planet where Anakin died and the monster was born. Vecna has the caves in Nevada, the place where Henry Creel vanished for 12 hours and came back, changed forever. Both locations mark the exact moment their humanity was ripped away. And both villains avoid returning to the place that created them. Vader didn't become evil on his own. He was manipulated by the Emperor, shaped into a weapon for someone else's plan. Vecna follows the same pattern. The Mind Flayer didn't choose Henry randomly. It latched onto a damaged kid, twisted his fear, and reshaped him into its perfect soldier. Vecna thinks he's the mastermind, but the roots of his story say otherwise. And just like Vader was reborn in fire, Henry Creel was reborn in Dimension X, a place filled with darkness he wasn't ready to face. Neither villain was born a monster. Both were created by a traumatic transformation they never processed. But maybe the clearest parallel is this. Both carry a buried human memory they refuse to face. Vader won't face the part of him that loved. Vecna won't face the child who was terrified. And the cave, the place he stops dead in his tracks, might be the one memory that still scares the monster inside him. Stranger Things has always borrowed from the classics. But the Duffers comparing Vecna to Darth Vader wasn't just aesthetic. It might be the key to understanding where Vecna's story is heading. But here's the part almost nobody is talking about. Vader's story isn't just about a villain falling to the dark side. It's about a man broken by trauma, shaped by manipulation, and buried under fear and anger. Every choice he made as Darth Vader erased Anakin Skywalker, but a part of him, small, fragile, human, never truly disappeared. That humanity finally resurfaces at the very end. It's Luke, his son, who reminds him of what he once was. And in that moment, Vader chooses to act not as a villain, but as a father. He kills the Emperor to save Luke, sacrificing his own life in the process. Vader doesn't survive, but Anakin Skywalker does. If only for a heartbeat, a single human moment in the middle of all the darkness. Now imagine Vecna following that same blueprint. Henry Creel already has that buried child inside him, the one terrified of the cave, the one who hasn't fully been erased by the Mind Flayer. If the Duffers take a cue from Vader's arc, Vecna's final act might not be a typical villain defeat. It could be a fracture in the monster, a single decision driven by that human spark. But here's the big question. Who could be the Luke for Henry Creel? Who could reach that last fragment of humanity and make him act differently than he ever has before? Max, 11, Will. Even someone we haven't seen yet. Whoever it is, that interaction could trigger the moment when Henry finally chooses not as Vecna, but as the boy he once was. And if this happens, the final showdown wouldn't just be about stopping a villain. It would be about a human moment that costs him everything. If the Vader analogy holds, Vecna won't just die. He'll die because he remembered what it means to be human. A terrifying, beautiful, tragic echo of the boy who once froze at the cave. Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about Darth Vader's final moments. He wasn't just a villain. He was Anakin Skywalker trapped in a machine, a puppet controlled by the Emperor. The same could be said for Vecna. Henry Creel isn't gone. He's been buried under years of trauma and the Mind Flayer's control. Vader's turning point wasn't a battle of lasers or explosions. It was a personal, emotional awakening. He saw his son suffering, and that human connection was enough to break the Emperor's hold. Even if only for a single, fatal moment. Now, if the Duffers are following that template, Vecna's story could unfold in a remarkably similar way. Throughout Stranger Things, we've seen that Henry's humanity is not completely gone. It's hiding behind fear, behind the trauma of Dimension X and the Mind Flayer's manipulation. Imagine a scene in which Max, 11, or even Wheel confront him not with force, but with emotion, with love, or even sheer defiance. That could be the trigger that allows Henry to break free, if just for a moment, from the Mind Flayer's grasp. In that instant, Vecna wouldn't die because he's defeated in combat. He'd fall because the very thing that kept him alive as a monster, his trauma, his fear, his reliance on the Mind Flayer, is suddenly disrupted. For a fleeting moment, the human Henry resurfaces. He acts maybe to save someone he cares about, and it's that act that destroys him. Just like Anakin's final decision destroyed Vader's machine of control, but redeemed the man inside. It's tragic, it's emotional, and it's perfectly in line with the Stranger Things universe. It doesn't require a full redemption arc for Vecna, but it gives him a final human moment that feels earned. And from a storytelling perspective, it satisfies the parallels the Duffers have teased with Vader. A villain shaped by trauma, manipulated by a higher power, haunted by the past, who ultimately finds a spark of humanity in their final act. This is my prediction. Vecna's downfall won't be about brute force. It will be psychological, emotional, and deeply tied to the relationships he's formed and lost over the course of the series. Just like Vader, the villain dies through the humanity he was never supposed to have, leaving the audience with heartbreak, and a story that truly mirrors the tragedy of a once human monster. So yes, Darth Vader's final moments might just be the blueprint for Vecna's fate. The Duffers gave us the inspiration all along. We just never realized how it could play out until now. Trauma, manipulation, lost humanity, and a single human act that changes everything. Vecna's story may end not with destruction, but with a fleeting glimpse of the boy he once was. If you think Vecna might follow the Darth Vader blueprint, hit that like button and subscribe for more Stranger Things breakdowns. Comment below, who do you think could bring out the last bit of humanity in Henry Creel? And don't forget to ring the bell so you won't miss any Season 5 theories, predictions, and hidden clues we uncover next.